welcome to WGU's Ask a Grad webinar. My name is Brittany Smith. I'm the Director of Alumni Relations here at Western Governors University. And on today's webinar, we are going to be addressing some of the most frequently asked questions that we receive from prospective students. And I am very excited to have Spencer Wade here with us. Spencer is a graduate from the Bachelor of Science Information Technology program. And I am actually going to turn the time over to Spencer so that he can introduce himself and give you a little bit of his background on being a WGU student and graduate. So Spencer, take it away.
Hello everyone, my name is Spencer Wade. Thanks for having me. I'm a 2013 IT graduate. Very excited to be able to sit with you all today. At one point in time, I was actually on your side of the camera, asking why, what, trying to figure out the unknowns. But I took the step, and after taking that step, I found myself with great success. And looking back, it was one of the best decisions I ever made.
Great, thank you so much. So we're just going to jump right into some of these questions. One of the questions that comes up a lot is whether I can do my certifications first. So can I get started in the program and just jump right into all of the certifications? So I just want to give some clarity from the perspective of the university. So some of your lower level certifications can be completed very early on in your program, but we actually have structured the program so that the certifications are worked into courses that are actually building on some of your earlier prerequisite courses. So there's an order and a method to where those certifications are actually placed in your program. When you get started as a student, your program mentor is well-versed in creating the ideal learning path for you, and that person will actually be your key contact in ensuring that your program aligns to your experience and to your goals, and so you'll work closely with them on figuring that out. But Spencer, from your perspective as a student and having actually gone through a program that included many certifications, what was your experience and what is your recommendation on taking certifications early in the program?
For me, I kind of use the analogy cart before the horse. Education is whole. There's more to it than just the certification. Certification, whether it's testing or hands-on, is just a part of the process. So really understanding the importance of your prerequisites is what makes these programs. Not to mention, why did you want to go do all the fun stuff at the beginning when you're going to school because you want to focus on the certifications? I would get the prerequisites and the kind of dry stuff out of the way so you can spend your final years or year focused on the certifications that you're there for. So for me, I feel that prerequisites are as important as the certifications. And I'll be honest with you, I would not have passed a single test without the prerequisites.
Great, thank you for that perspective. Along the same conversation with certifications, we are frequently asked what certifications are actually covered in the program and are they included in the cost of the program? And then another question we receive is what programming languages are covered. So those are kind of similar questions along the same vein, and my answer would be to go to the website at wgu.edu, and if you go to the program that you're interested in, you'll be able to download the program guide, and that program guide will have all of the information on the courses that are included in the program, certifications, programming languages you'll be learning. You should be able to get all the information you need there. And then you can also talk to an enrollment counselor and they can walk you through some of that information as well. And then as far as the cost of the certification, so those actually are included in the cost of your tuition. So you will be paying a flat rate per term and those certifications are included in that flat rate you pay. One note on that is you have 2 attempts at the certifications, and if you don't pass, then you will have to pay for the third attempt at the certification, but otherwise they are covered. But Spencer, from your perspective, do you have any insight on the certification and the programming languages that you learned, and maybe give some insight on how those have helped you since graduating?
From JavaScript, networks to security, and everything in between, they positioned me for where I am today. Without those certifications, I would not have the business that I have today.
So another question that comes up a lot is regarding eligibility for the program and how can I meet eligibility. So just really broadly, each of our programs has different eligibility requirements that need to be met. And you can actually check out the eligibility requirements for each program on the website at wgu.edu. If you're in a situation currently where you've been working with our enrollment and admissions team and you're not meeting the eligibility requirement, just know that that's okay, that we can actually help you get whatever it is you need to get to be able to be enrolled in the program. So whether it's certifications or any of the prerequisites, be sure that you're working with our enrollment and admissions team and not just giving up and walking away. We have ways to get you to the point where you can be enrolled. So just make sure that you're working with your enrollment counselor, and if you aren't currently and you've reviewed the eligibility requirements and you're worried about it, call our enrollment team and talk through it with them, and let's see what we can do to help you. And I'm actually now going to have Spencer give his insight on the enrollment process and what that was like, and maybe give some advice, Spencer, to people who may be having issues with the eligibility.
Okay. The eligibility process to me is like anything in life. You don't always get immediately what you're after, and at times you're given instruction on things and steps that you need to take to get there. And what I found is the enrollment, the counselors, and everybody involved will do their best to get you to the right information. There's one important thing that we all have to remember is that life continually puts walls up in front of you, and it's how we climb over them. Taking the steps to better your education and your professional life not only allows you just to climb the walls, but knock them down.
Great, thank you. That was very well said. Thanks for that insight. So once you're enrolled and you're starting the program, I know that the question comes up a lot about the program itself and the WGU model and the competency-based model. People hear that word competency-based a lot and aren't really sure what that's going to look like. So could you maybe give your insight on what the best aspects of the WGU program were and what the hardest aspects were, and just some insight into what it's like to actually be a student at WGU?
Absolutely. The most exciting thing for me about WGU is the pace. One of the hardest obstacles was getting started. The first 3 months can seem almost impossible at times, but those 3 months are important to your future curriculum. And what I did is set kind of an ongoing weekly calendar that I made myself meet. And before long, after 2 or 3 weeks of focusing on that calendar, I found myself meeting all my daily educational obligations. And with that alone, it created kind of a rhythm that then I was able to excel at times or slow down at times. And, so that is the single biggest part about WGU. It's your pace. It can be scary, but at the end of the day, things that are in the unknown are scary, but not being afraid to try. And the end result is an education at a fraction of the cost, bettering yourself, proving to yourself that there is no age limit that says that I can go and do something and finish what I start. So those are the factors of everyday life. We wake up or we go to bed, and opportunities like WGU are what you make of them.
Great. So it sounds like the most important thing as our viewers are getting started on their program is just making sure that you're setting a schedule for yourself, that you're sticking to that schedule, and just keep in mind that, yeah, the first few months of starting anything new is going to be the hardest, but once you get into that rhythm, hopefully you can just stay in that rhythm to get through the program.
Absolutely.
Why don't you tell us a little bit more about the fact that the program is self-paced, and were you able to accelerate any of your programs, and how did that work for you?
Yes, actually I was able to do several competency exams for my prior knowledge, which allowed me to kind of move through certain areas a little faster. It's just another validator behind WGU. You have a real-world experience, use it. Bring it to the education outline. Show that experience. You can move through these programs at your own pace, but the competency gives you the ability to kind of move at a little bit faster pace. I had the opportunity to put several classes behind me. It saved me time. It saved me money. But the most important thing is that I didn't not take the class. I actually did them. I just did them in a fast format. So just another validator behind the WGU outline.
Great. So you mentioned that you had several courses where you were able to accelerate and finish faster because of your previous knowledge and experience, but did you ever run into any situations where you had a rough time getting through a course or you didn't pass a test the first time?
Yes, and normally I wouldn't just say yes, I failed the test, but in reality I did. Felt like the end of the world, but after walking out and talking to the testing center gentleman who instructed me to just get back to those books and get back there as quick as you can, I followed those instructions. I went back to the study. I realized that it was not the study that was lacking. It was my little extra ability. I gave that extra ability, went back to the testing center, and passed with flying colors. Now, what I learned from that is that failing is a part of the process. It's failing and stopping is where you want to veer away from. Failing and moving past is what life is, and will help you not only be successful in your professional life, but in your personal life as well.
Great. Yeah, thank you for that perspective. And I can also say from the perspective as the Director of Alumni Relations and talking to a lot of our graduates, I don't speak with very many of them who haven't failed at least one test during their journey as a WGU student. So that's, I think, an important mindset to get into going into the program, is that you really just have to stick to it and not give up and work your way through it. And you're going to have setbacks, but you just work through those and celebrate your successes along the way. So Spencer, in your experience since graduating from WGU, have you run into any situations where employers or hiring managers or even people you knew had a bad viewpoint or a bad opinion of online education, or do you feel like having completed your degree online is a hindrance in any way to your ability to get a job?
Absolutely not. I am the owner of my company. I did hire myself, but that's besides the point. Online degrees today are just as relevant as traditional universities. I've got 16 employees, and whether some of them went to online universities or traditional universities, it's irrelevant. They both were educated. They both come to me with experience today from those education outlines. People's paths are different. Some people want to go the traditional way. Others want something a little more streamlined. WGU is that streamlined opportunity, a non-profit school that goes out of its way to help navigate and give you correct process for a future educational outline. So as far as hiring, that is a thing of the past. All traditional universities today have online classes.
Great, thank you. Another question that comes up a lot is whether or not WGU is accredited. So we are actually accredited by the Northwest Commission of Colleges and Universities. This is the same accrediting board that accredits Boise State University, Gonzaga University, Oregon State, the University of Utah, UNLV. So it is a regional accreditation board. If you want more information on accreditation, you can actually go directly to their website at nwccu.org, or you can also look on wgu.edu or talk to your enrollment counselor. But Spencer, from your experience in actually researching education choices before you started as a student, what was your feeling about accreditation, and was that an important factor for you?
Absolutely. Validation is important. Nobody wants to spend money on something and not have the type of validation that comes from accreditation. So it was important, but I personally feel that the curriculum and working knowledge gained from the university is just as important.
Great, thank you. And then the last question that we're going to talk about today is cost. So this comes up a lot. How much is my education going to cost me? And of course, that's a very important question and an important factor as you're researching and making your decisions. So in terms of WGU and our tuition, with our low flat tuition rate and the fact that certifications are included in the degree, and the fact that the program is self-paced and competency-based, does make WGU a very economical choice in comparison to other schools. If you want more information, again, I feel like a broken record, but you can go to wgu.edu, and there's a page for financial aid and tuition, and you can actually look at all of our tuition rates by college there. Spencer, from your perspective in the research you did before you started at WGU, how did we compare with other universities, and what was the deciding factor in making that decision for you?
Yeah, it was easy. Cost was one of the main factors, and from knowledge, I would say it was almost a third or a fourth cheaper than traditional education outlines. So the cost, the self-paced, the non-for-profit, and the real attitude and energy that comes from this university just validated that this was where I wanted to spend my money. I felt like it was more focused on me as compared to an e-suite. So that gave me my final push to take this direction. And, you know, I do have a little short story of a gentleman who actually did streamline his education in a very fast format. Did it in, you know, like half a year, got a degree. And so when I was going to school, I always thought about that gentleman, and it inspired me. It reminded me that I can pay as much as I want to, but at the end of the day, you're going to pay a fraction of the cost, and you're still going to get the best education out there, not to mention we're being looked at today as lucrative as anybody else from a graduating environment.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you for taking some time to be with us and answer some questions today. We actually are now going to open up the chat function, so you can ask any questions that you still have that weren't addressed during this Q&A portion of the webinar. So feel free to hop in there now. Spencer will be able to answer questions, or if you have questions for the university, we have people standing by to answer those for you as well. And we thank you very much for your time again, and look forward to hearing from you all soon. Thank you. And thank you, Spencer.
Thank you all. Nice to be